It does not make sense that Africa can have so many resources, yet Africa still languishes in poverty. We have banks that we don't own. We have education systems that we don't own. We have curriculums that we never wrote. We have political parties that don't service our own interest as people. We have passports. They don't give us access to other countries. They have access to our countries. We don't have access into their own countries. And that's supposed to be democracy. They have embassies in our own countries, and yet they put the same countries in sanctions. What sort of a system are we talking about if we are to be addressing the issues of African democracy? African democracy is a crippled child who is sitting on a wheelchair, a paraplegic wheelchair. In as much as our countries are claimed to be democratic, they are not free at all. Our economies are ruled by the West. Our education is ruled by the West. Our medicine is given by the West. Our diseases are managed by the West. Our populations are managed by the West. Our technologies are imposed on us by the West. So which part of us can you say is democracy? The same countries, they sponsor a government, they sponsor a surrogate government, the government gets into power. After they're in power, then you put the same government in sanctions again. What do they want from us? These colonizers, what do they want from us? You wanted our gold, we took it. You wanted diamonds, you took it. You want our children and our body parts? You're harvesting. Africa is a harvesting ground of livers and kidneys and hearts. What do you want from us as a people? You took our art. You took our kings. Destroyed our civilization. Up to now, 400 years later, the colonizer is still watching to see how much more he can get away and harvest and pull and rape and take away from the African people. And all this comes under a big umbrella. Africa is going to become a democratic state. But in the midst of democracy, what democracy has been able to do more than anything else, it is to solidify the borders of segregation between nations. The border between Zimbabwe and South Africa, put more fences, put more dogs. The border between Zimbabwe and Mozambique, put more fences, put more dogs. The border between Zimbabwe and Zambia, put more fences, put more dogs. Botswana and Zambia, put more fence, put more dogs. And all these African countries walk around each other in funny little ties, flying around the countries, sitting around United Nations, Africa Union, and we are discussing issues of democracy. The first idea when Africa wants to discuss democracy is how do we restore the African dignity by destroying the borders that separate the African children. My grandmother is Shangaan, Mozambique, on my father's side. My grandmother is Venda, on my mother's side. My father is Karanga, and my grandfather on my mother's side is Ndebele. So how can you put a border in a passport for me, that for me to go and see my grandmother's houses in Mozambique, I need a passport. To go and see my grandmother in South Africa, I need a passport. I must go to Pretoria first, go to Harare. I can cross the river, the Limpopo River. And this is the form of the democratic Africa that our leaders are constipated with. I'll spill the beans as loud as clear. African democracy identifies a few educated, parodic Africans who become political parties. And they talk in cahoots with the funders, the colonizers. They walk into power not to help the African people, but to look after themselves and maintain the system for the colonizer. So you walk up to me and tell me right now, South Africa is free. We still don't have the Reserve Bank in our hands 25 years later. All the insurance policy companies are white. Black people, we only run funeral parlors and taxis. That's all black people own. Funeral parlors and taxis. Insurance companies are in the hands of the colonizer. The banks are in the hands of the colonizer. Manufacturing industries are in the hands of the colonizers. The pharmaceuticals are in the hands of the colonizers. Medicine, clothing in the hands of the colonizers. Technology in the hands of the colonizers. Small little black boys who graduate from universities and black girls, all they do is to work for people who are putting on shorts. Uneducated, some of them, by the way. They have inherited wealth from their own fathers, and they run these countries. And that is supposed to be democracy. In fact, democracy says don't disturb the status quo. Don't tamper with the financial market of the country. Because if you tamper with the finances of the country, your country is going to become unbankable. Your country is going to go down. The economy is going to go down. Hell no. Whose economy? Show me one black person who has money. Show me one black person who owns an industry. Show me one black person who owns a pharmaceutical company, who owns a manufacturing industry. You'll be shocked to discover we are still slaves and servants working for the colonial system. Take note, I'm not insulting any political party, but I want to insult their insensitivity that they walk around and campaign. I'm saying this from Nigeria to Uganda to Kenya to Ghana to Zimbabwe to South Africa to Botswana, anywhere in Africa. Tell me one political leader who has made an intentional business of improving and establishing factories for his own people. Sit around approving business budgets for what? Just take that money, open industries. Take that money, open up mines. Take that money, open up agricultural farms. Have food for your people, employment for your people. How complicated can that be? The model to follow is Dubai. Look at Emirates. They have nothing. All national fund. Use the national fund to make Dubai a capital city of industry for the whole world. Here we are in Africa. We have cocoa, we have bananas, we have coal, we have platinum, we have diamonds, we have oil, we have weather, we have tourism, we have everything. But in the midst of all these resources, our African people are still languishing in poverty. Can I ask you, the intelligent ones, what is the problem of Africa? What is the problem? We have the resources, we have the universities, we have the education, we have the skills. What is the problem? The problem is we are trained to maintain a system that does not benefit us. We go to school to learn to maintain that system. We train our children to look after the system. Our political system has no will at all to empower the local people. It has no will. There's no political party that wants to remove bread from the mouth of the white man. That's a fact. Because all these political leaders are eating with the colonizer. So how can you destabilize a system that is giving you food? So it's the typical state where Uncle Tom kind of boys who now are being told, you are not like them. You are a better black than them. Please, you can eat here. You can sign here. You can own this also and that. And before you notice it, 5 years, 10 years later, our political leaders have just become rubber stamps in government for pushing a European colonized agenda. I'm still looking for a country that will take its own resources and improve its own infrastructure. I challenge all the African political heads across Africa. Go to Dubai, not to shop. Go and study. Go and study how a place that has nothing has been able to change its course from a desert to a capital city of shopping in the world. Go there and study. Many of you who are here always insulting me about Christianity. Some of the most prosperous countries in the world are non-Christian at all. Look at China. Look at India. They are succeeding. Do they even believe in Jesus? So stop making economic issues religious issues. We need to start looking at politics and these political issues head on and look for real solutions. And many of us who are in the business of praying, for how long shall the African continue to pray? 500 years later, still praying, calling on the name of Jesus. What answers does he give us for land? What answers does he give us for poverty? What answers does he give us for sicknesses and disease? What answers does he give us for land? So stop being too obsessed with cliches of religion that lock you and paralyze African function. The African soul and conscience is trapped in the religion and this spirituality it has been given under the Christian banner and Islam banner, whereby the African child has become twice a slave to the master who governs him and to the religion that manages his conscience. I want to say it publicly. The only reason we are still here, and the only reason the colonizer is still here, because the Bible says, thou shalt not kill. That's why they're still here. If we did not have the Bible that says, thou shalt not kill, tell me what we would have done with the colonizers up to this very day. I'm not lying. You can come and lock me up and call this hate speech. We would have flushed them out and thrown them out in the Indian Ocean and sent them back where they came from. But because of religion and because of Christianity, and you white people, you better all of you become Christians. You better become Christians. It's embarrassing that now blacks have become more Christian than white people themselves. Because the only thing that is keeping you on Africa, living with people that you are oppressing, is the religion that you gave them. And I'm speaking on behalf of, I'm a minister of the gospel, fully trained. Our business is to manage the consciences of the community to make sure that they don't fight and revolt against the system. Yes, that's what we do. We teach the people how to dress, how to treat Mlungu, how to look for jobs, and how to become yes boss, yes boss, yes boss, and how to work together. And at the end of the day, the system we have been given is not there for the liberation of the African people. I challenge the political systems, challenge EFF, challenge ZANU-PF, I challenge ANC, I challenge all the political parties, wherever you are. When you win, when you lose, go to other countries and study and see how they have nationalized their resources so that those resources can benefit the local people. I can't believe Zimbabwe, my own country, has 87 rare minerals that are being looked and sought for in the whole world. And yet the country to date does not have its own currency. Does not have its own currency. What's your problem? The mines are in your hands. The taxes are in your hands. Can't you just take tax money and dig the damn diamonds, dig the damn platinum and sell it? Build roads and hospitals for the people? How complicated can that be? How complicated can that be? Can you please send this video to Elder Mnangagwa himself? How complicated can that be? No, there must be a board, a barrow, there must be a committee, there must be what? A board that will process things, and before the money even comes there, all the hungry political leaders are in the pot, harvesting and stealing the same money from the same coffers that's supposed to be helping the community. Where do we begin as African people? We're constantly running on hungry stomachs, and hungry stomachs don't make politics at all. And I want to say, as I said at the beginning, our problem in Africa, our problem is democracy. And democracy has no spirituality. Democracy has no God. Democracy has no ethics. Democracy has no morality. Democracy has no conscience. Democracy assists colonialism to survive more. Put a system that maintains the colonial system. If you want to fight with me, I can write a research paper on that, but that's a fact. That's a fact. You walk into power, you destabilize the system, they put you on sanctions, put your economies into quarantines and into chaos. There you are again begging and crawling on your feet, looking for the Western world to approve, give you loans and etc. How long will you, as my African people, how long will it take you to wake up from your sleep and slumber of eating the lollipops of Western civilization? And one of the most biggest poisons that we have eaten in Africa is the poison of democracy, which teaches us not to respect anything. I'm here to advocate for Ubuntu nation. Every man must look after his own family. Put R1, $1 per day for every member of the family who is living with you. Start a savings plan. 52 million people in South Africa, 17 million people in Zimbabwe, 2.5 million people in Botswana, 2.3 people in Swaziland. If we can put all these R1 per day kind of money, we are able to create our own banking, our own financial system, which can challenge and collapse all the financial institutions that Africa is now incubating, which are colonial systems. I don't care who they are, from Ernst & Young to Old Mutual to Standard Bank to FNB to Nedbank, all these systems that are in the hands of the colonizer. We don't need these systems at all. If we can take the money that we work for and we keep it together. Now, because we are all in debt, let's start slowly. Let every member of the African Ubuntu nation create a doggy bag, a kitty, have a small little savings plan in your house. R1 per day, 1 pula per day, 1 malangeni per day. Keep that money with you. We'll make a calling very soon. We put all those R1 per days into one big kitty. We can begin, even if the white people say they want us to buy the land, we can afford to buy the land for ourselves. 52 million rand a day or 47 million rand per day times 10, that's for 10 days, times 100 days, times 1 year. Those are trillions of dollars. We don't need a donation from anybody. With that money, we can build our own universities. We can build our own hospitals. We can build our own houses. We can look after ourselves. If we understand, we can make the resources work for us. Instead of taking 2,000, 3,000 rand per month to pay for a gym, to pay for health insurance, to pay for insurance, which we can't even afford. Why can't we take our own money, R1 per day, buy and build our own hospitals, which we can look after ourselves, which we can afford, competitive prices for our own people. I'm here to advocate for a new day for the African people. We're tired. I'm getting old, and I'm wondering how long will this go. Please start Googling, start reading about Ubuntu Nation. Ubuntu Nation, Ubuntu Nation, Ubuntu Nation, Ubuntu Nation is our only solution and our last stroke of hope as Africans. Let's take the money that we are working for at a minimal of each one of us who is working. Start putting that money together. Before the end of this year, we will open up an account which will be thoroughly transparent to the whole continent for everybody to see where your money is going. We'll start using this money for the development of the Ubuntu concept, then spread it over into all the countries, and we can begin to have our own savings plan, which can build our own infrastructures. And the issues of politics and governments, we can always deal with them a bit later on. I'm not interested in politics. This is not a political party. This is a nation building initiative. A nation building initiative. We are not talking politics. Time for politics is over. We have given political leaders from 1945, 1960, more than 68 years of democracy. But each democratic country has made its people poor and poor. And no one wants to admit that we cannot run this system. It's failing us. It's failing us. Politicians are saying too much, saying too much, saying too little, doing too little, speaking too much, doing very little. It's high time we take our economy into our own hands. And when we have our economy in our own hands, we can determine the politics of every country, determine the health of our people, determine the entertainment of our people, determine the fashion of our people, determine the industries of our people, determine the hospitals of our people, midwifery for our own children, education for our own children, land for the future generation, and preserve the things that we think they're important to us. Ubuntu Nation. Ubuntu Nation starts with you as an individual. Tonight, buy, organize a nice little bucket, a kitty in your own house. From the beginning of the year to date, put R1, 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 $1, $1, $1, one puller for all your children. Let's see how that kitty looks at the end of the 3-4 months, when 10, 15, 20 families can begin to put all those R1 per day initiative into one kitty. We can begin to talk about our families, we can begin to talk about our communities, then we can begin to talk about our nation, ultimately our continent as a whole. I'm here to advocate the initiatives of Ubuntu. Ubuntu Nation is our passport out of poverty. You accept this, Africa will go forward. You refuse this, go back into slavery for another 2, 3, 500 years, until you wake up to discover the solutions of the future are buried in the processes of the past. There's nothing more I can do for you. You can tell them they can come and pick me up here. They can come and kill me. I've said what was in my heart. Africa needs a solution. The solution is not going to come from donor money. The solution will come when Africa begins to make its own savings plan and build for itself its own infrastructure to protect and secure the future that we're looking for. Until we meet again tomorrow here on your afternoon drive with Maponga J. Ubuntu Nation. Ubuntu Nation. It's what we are all about. Take this video and share with everybody else on the continent. It's high time we restore the broken walls of our own kingdoms. I'm here to advocate and announce the break of a new day for the African people. Tell your politicians they must start packing their bags and going where they are being paid for they have not benefited my people at all. Until we meet again tomorrow, same time, on your afternoon drive, cut and paste. This is your material. I don't have power over it. Cut and paste. Share on all platforms. Let the message of Ubuntu ring on every continent around Africa. Let the black child know we have a home, and that home is in Africa. The home of the African is Africa. The home of the Africans is in Africa. Yours truly, Maponga J. Chigaramboko, Garmashamba Huda, Shira Nawana Wanji. Makumbomana, Mwisendewe Shan. So say we don't meet.